Get a grip, then get a chip. Won't even trip. Though my cup was running over, I took only a sip. Stay hippin', then I'm hopping, I'm dropping. It won't be flopping, no shot. That whatever I'm selling, you will be copping. He was the strongest, though he was the one that cried. And he chose to kill his brother because he was from that side. And why? He chose his son because this one had pride. And instead of the narrow road, he chose the one that's wide. Sometimes the one that won was the one that tried. And the one who pulled the gun was the one that died. Looking good, a good look is the one that's fine. If I had to pick, fly would be the one that's mine. G-O-D, in the place to be. Attendee, Hard Knocks University. And since kindergarten, they've been hiding the knowledge. Homeboy is self-taught, never went to college. I'm brown skinned, I'm from Pelon. Rainy alarm, but I remain cool and calm. Reading song, fire like napalm bomb.
As we proceed to give you what you need, we are here in the information age on Do You Know Your Value page. It's the content creator with force like Darth Vader back on the track of the facts and all that. One path is the way that I'm taking, getting closer to God in a tight situation. And this afternoon, we're going to continue going over the Annotated Glossary from Clacking the Code 3rd edition, starting where we left off. So without further ado, we will begin now. Federal, of or pertaining to or founded upon and organized by a compact or act of union between separate sovereign states, as one by a league or common interest in defense as regards external relations, the internal sovereignty of each member remaining unimpaired, as a Hanseatic League or the German Confederation, or two, by a permanent act of union founded on the consent of the people, duly expressed, constituting a government supreme within the sphere of the powers granted to it by that act of union, as the United States of America. The Constitution of the United States of America is of a very different nature than that of the German Confederation. It is not merely a league of sovereign states for their common defense against external and internal violence, but a supreme federal government or compositive state, acting not only upon the sovereign members of the Union, but directly upon all its citizens in their individual and corporate capacities. From 1776 to 1789, the United States was a confederation. After 1789, it was a federal nation. See note. Note, observe the last two entries above for what they reveal and confirm. One, that it was acknowledged no later than 1866, date of publication of Elements International Law, that people have both a private, individual, and corporate capacity. This is the essence of the difference between true name and trade name, flesh and blood man and straw man. And two, the several states were nations, countries unto themselves, and reference in the plural between 1776 and 1789. But following the unanimous adoption of the Constitution, Rhode Island was last to adopt May 20 of 1790. They were unified into a single federal nation and spoken of in the singular. Federal Insurance Contributions Act, or FICA. See the curse of co-suretyship in part 1 of this manual, Insurance Contribution Ponzi Scheme. Federal Reserve Note. The highest example of a commercial lien is a Federal Reserve Note, commonly found in commercial circulation, and is a commercial lien upon the labor and industry of all Americans by the international banking system. The fundamental principles and processes of commercial law. By Harper Van Dyke. See note. Note, the monetary unit for most of the world's trade. Federal Reserve Note, FRN, is not defined in law dictionaries, though the former United States notes are. FRNs are commercial, military, private, Federal Reserve, reinsurance script. They are permanently unfulfilled, irredeemable evidence of debt. All FRNs are loan borrowed into existence. It is a closed system, and as in the board game Monopoly, bankruptcies are inevitable. Only the principal amount is loaned, borrowed into circulation. However, because interest payments must be tendered, the only source for these payments is the original principal amount, thereby making it mathematically impossible to ever pay off the total debt of principal plus interest. More FRNs must be borrowed into circulation in order to make interest payments and yet still be able to retire the principal amount of the original loan, thus pushing the borrower further into debt, a never-ending, even worsening cycle. Federal Reserve notes are promises to pay as described above, but they are corporate promises to pay. There is no such thing as personal income. For comprehensive technical treatment of the nature of Federal Reserve notes, see a memorandum of law in appendix. See monopoly. Military, pertaining to war or to the army concerned with war. Black 6, see note. Note, the Mandatory Act, March 9, 1933, to the Trading with the Enemy Act of October 6, 1917, namely the Emergency Banking Relief Act of March 9, 1933, defined the American people as the enemy legally of the United States government because of the U.S. bankruptcy through which the private international Federal Reserve System became the government, creditor of the United States. See ramifications of the bankruptcy. The nature of Federal Reserve notes in appendix. Reinsurance, sharing or risk among insurance companies. Sharing of risk among insurance companies. Part of the insurer's risk is assumed by the other companies in return for part of the premium paid by the insured. By spreading the risk, reinsurance allows an individual company to take on clients whose coverage would be too great a burden for one insurer to carry alone. Barron's Dictionary of Finance, Investment Terms, 1991, see note. Note, for a comprehensive treatment of how you have become the reinsurer of loans of FRNs and a chapter of American history that is not taught in schools, see ramifications of the bankruptcy, the nature of Federal Reserve notes in appendix. Reinsure, to insure under a contract by which a first insurer relieves himself from a part or from all of the risk and devolves it upon another insurer. See note. Note, see ramifications of the bankruptcy, the nature of the Federal Reserve notes in appendix. Script, a certificate to be exchanged for goods as at a company store. Webster's, see note. Note, company store equal any place using FRNs in U.S. jurisdiction. Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. The rules governing proceedings instituted in the U.S. District Courts. Black 7th. Federal Zone. See note. Note, the terms in this state, and state, the 2 capital letter federal postal designation, CA, NY, TX, FL, etc., and the 5-digit ZIP, zoning improvement plan, code signifying United States jurisdiction. See in this state, Senate document number 43, 73rd Congress, first session, District of Columbia, United States. Per California Revenue and Taxation Code, subsection 6017, 11205, 17018, and 23034. Feudal, pertaining to feuds or fees, relating to or growing out of the feudal system or feudal law, having the quality of a feud as distinguished from allodial. Blacks first, compare allodial. Fiat, Latin, let it be done, an order or decree, especially an arbitrary one. Blacks 7th. Fictitious name, a counterfeit, feigned, or pretended name taken by a person differing in some essential particular from his true name, consisting of Christian name and patronymic, with the implication that it is meant to deceive or mislead. Blacks 4th. See note. Patronymic, name of the house, father, family, surname. Note, opposite of a true name. Your all capital letters straw man trade name is a fictitious name created by the bankrupt corporate U.S. government at the time of your birth. See birth. And wholly brought into separate existence via the birth record document. You have mistakenly believed that the fictitious all capital letters trade name referenced identified you when in fact it is only a piece of property, corporation, corporately colored, that is inextricably linked with you and your true name. The U.S. government presently holds legal title, original birth document, regarding the fictitious name, but title is easily recovered by your redemption of the document of title, in other words, the birth certificate. See legal fiction, capital letter, all capital letters written, item sonins, artificial person, proper. Field warehouse receipt, document issued by warehousemen, evidences receipt of goods which have not been stored. Such may be used as collateral for loans. Black 6. See note. Field. A sphere of action or place of contest. B, a battleground. Note, the term field is a military term signifying battlefield. The county recorder issues a field warehouse receipt, evidencing receipt of goods, newborn baby which have been stored, delivered in the warehouse county. The birth certificate is a field warehouse receipt and as such may be used as collateral for loans. File number means the number assigned to an initial financial statement pursuant to subdivision A of section 9519 UCC 9102 A36. Filing office. Filing office means an office designated in section 9501 as a place to file a financing statement. UCC 9102 A37. Financing statement. Financing statement means a record or records composed of an initial financing statement and any filed recording related to the initial financing statement. UCC 9102-839, a document filed with the UCC office, or in some cases, the county auditor, that details the money and or goods pledged by one party to guarantee the fulfillment of an obligation to another party. Fixture filing. Fixture filing means the filing of a financing statement covering goods that are or ought to become fixtures and satisfying subdivisions A and B of sections 9502. The term includes the filing of a financing statement covering goods of a transmitting utility which are or ought to become fixtures. UCC 9102-840. Fixtures. Fixtures means goods that have become so related to particular real property that an interest in them arises under real property law. UCC 9102-841. Flag, law of. In maritime law, the law of the nation. In maritime law, the law of that nation or country whose flag is flown by a particular vessel. A ship owner who sends his vessel into a foreign port gives notice by his flag to all who enter into contracts with the master that he intends the law of that flag to regulate such contracts, and that they must either submit to its operation or not contract with him. Black's Fourth. See note. Note, the law of flag pertains to the legal and lawful import or use of a non-verbal symbolic notice defining jurisdiction and applicable law. The significance in admiralty and maritime jurisdiction is stated above in quotes and identifies the current legal system in America. This aspect of law more closely approaches the true essence of the nature and significance of names than any other. In a courtroom, the judge wants to recognize only your all capital letters flag. In other words, your corporately colored juristic trade name flag. See trademark. Fraud. An intentional perversion of truth for the purpose of inducing another in reliance upon it to part with some valuable thing belonging to him or to surrender a legal right. A false representation of a matter of fact, whether by words or by conduct. By false or misleading allegations, or by concealment of that which should have been disclosed, which deceives and is intended to deceive another so that the shall act upon it to his legal injury, so that he shall act upon it to his legal injury. Any kind of artifice employed by one person to deceive another, a generic term embracing all multifarious means which human ingenuity can devise and which are resorted to by one individual to get advantage over another, by false suggestions or by suppression of truth, and includes all surprise, trick, cunning, dissembling in any unfair way by which another is cheated. Black's Fifth. Fraud vitiates every transaction and all contracts. Indeed, the principle is often stated in broad and sweeping language that fraud destroys the validity of everything into which it enters, and that it vitiates the most solemn contracts, documents, and even judgment. Fraud, as it is sometimes said, vitiates every act, which statements embodies a thoroughly sound doctrine when it is properly applied to the subject matter in controversy and to the parties thereto, and in proper forum. 37 American Jurisprudence, second, fraud, subsection 8. FRCP, see Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. General, pertaining to or designated the genus or class as distinguished from that which characterizes the species or individual. Universal, not particularized as opposed to special. Principal or central, as opposed to local. Open or available to all, as opposed to select. Obtaining commonly or recognized universally, as opposed to particular. Universal or unbounded, as opposed to limited. Comprehending the whole as distinguished from anything applying to or designated for a portion only. Black's First. Compare special. General appearance. An appearance for general purposes. Which waives a party's ability later to dispute the court's personal jurisdiction. Black's Seventh. General intangibles. General intangibles means any personal property, including things in action other than accounts, shadow paper, commercial tort claims, deposit accounts, documents, goods, instruments, investment property, letter of credit rights, letters of credit, money and oil, gas, or other minerals before extraction. The term includes payment intangibles and software. UCC 9102A-A42. Gentile, other pertaining to any people not Jewish. A person who is not Jewish, especially a Christian. Webster's, the Torah outlawed the issue offspring of a Gentile as that of a beast. Jewish Encyclopedia, 1901, Volume 5, page 621. See note, Goyim goods. Note, per the Jewish Encyclopedia in the Torah, first 5 books of the Old Testament, by reference, Gentiles, in other words, non-Jews, are beasts. Good faith. Good faith means honesty in fact and observance of reasonable commercial standards of fair dealing. UCC 9102A43. See note. Note, good faith is sincere in their intent to be honest, truthful, and open in all aspects of a contract offered or being negotiated. Goods. Goods means all things that are movable when security interest attaches. The term includes 3. The unborn young of individual. The unborn young of animals. The term also includes a computer program embedded in goods and any supporting information provided in connection with a transaction related to the program. If 1, the program is associated with the goods in such a manner that it is customarily considered part of the goods, or 2, by becoming the owner of the goods, a person acquires a right to use the program in connection with the goods. The term does not include a computer program embedded in goods that consists solely of the medium in which the program is embedded. The term also does not include accounts, shadow paper, commercial tort claims, deposit accounts, documents, general intangibles, instruments, investment property, letter of credit rights, letter of credit, money or oil, gas or other minerals before extraction. UCC 9102A44. A term of variable content and meaning, all things which are movable at the time of identification to the contract for sale, investment securities and things in action. Also includes the unborn young of animals. Black 6, see note. Note, all things which are movable equal newborn children at the time the security interest attaches equal birth and execution, registration of the birth document certificate, identification to the contract equal newborn's footprints and informers, mother's signature, contract equal birth certificate, things in action equal human fetuses, newborn babies, unborn young of animals equal human fetuses, according to Strong's and Goyim. Below, Goyim equal animals. According to the Jewish Encyclopedia and Gentile above, a Gentile is a beast. See field warehouse receipt, identification of goods, Gentile, Goyim. Goy, often disparaging a non-Jewish person, Gentile, also Goy. See Goyim, see Gentile. Goyim, a foreign nation, hence a Gentile. Also a troop of animals or a flight of locusts, Gentile, heathen, nation, people. The New Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible, 1995. See note, Goy, Gentile. Note, literally, Goyim means nation. It is also Jewish slang for cattle or animals, per Jewish thinking that there are only 2 nations in the world, the Jewish nation and the Gentile, non-Jewish nation. In other words, Goyim. See Gentile, goods. Guarantor, one who makes a guarantee or gives security for a debt. While a surety's liability begins with that of the principal, a guarantor's liability does not begin until the principal debtor is in default. Black 7th. Guarantee, a promise to answer for the payment of some debt or the performance of some duty in case of the failure of another who is liable in the first instance. Black 7th. Hold harmless agreement, a contract in which one party agrees to indemnify the other. Black 7th. Holder, the holder of a bill of exchange, promissory note, check, or other commercial paper is the person who has legally acquired possession of the same by endorsement, payment of the instrument, and who is entitled to receive payment of the instrument. Person who is in possession of a document of title or an instrument or an investment security drawn, issued or endorsed to him or to his order or to bearer or in blank. Black 6. With respect to a negotiable instrument means the person in possession if the instrument is payable to bearer, or in the case of an instrument payable to an identified person, if the identified person is in possession. Holder with respect to a document of title means the person in possession if the goods are deliverable to bearer or to the order of a person in possession. UCC 120120. See holder in due course. Holder in due course. A person who in good faith has given value for a negotiable instrument that is complete and regular on its face, is not overdue until the possessor's knowledge has not been dishonored. Black 7th. In commercial law, a holder of an instrument who took it for value in good faith and without notice of any claim or defense against it. UCC 33021. And who can enforce the instrument free from all claims and personal defenses. UCC 3305. A payee may be a holder in due course. A holder does not become a holder in due course of an instrument by purchase of it at a judicial sale or by taking it under legal processes, or by acquiring it and taking over an estate, or by purchasing it as part of a bulk transaction not in regular course of business of the transferor. A purchaser of a limited interest can be a holder in due course only to the extent of the interest purchased. Black 6. Compare bona fide purchaser. See note. Note, a holder is not necessarily the holder in due course. Per the first definition above, you are the only one who can be the holder in due course of negotiable instruments bearing your straw man's trade name. In commercial law, the phrase holder in due course signifies the operation and standing of one with supreme and irrefutable claim on a negotiable instrument. House Joint Resolution 192 of June 5, 1933. Resolved by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled that A. Every provision contained in or made with respect to any obligation which purports to the obligee the right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency or in an amount in money of the United States measured thereby is declared to be against public policy, and no such provision shall be contained in or made with respect to any obligation hereafter incurred. Every obligation heretofore or hereafter incurred, whether or not any such provision is contained therein or made with respect thereto, shall be discharged upon payment, dollar for dollar, in any such coin or currency which at the time of payment is legal tender for public and private debts. Public Law 7310, see note and note at escrow. Note, as a result of House Joint Resolution 192 of June 5, 1933, HJR 192, a debt can no longer be paid because the only way lawful payment can be made with gold, silver, coin currency was made illegal. Since the new legal tender consists solely of private Federal Reserve notes, which are private commercial script representing debt, transference of such script between users merely discharges the relative debt between them. No matter how much exchange of Federal Reserve notes transpires between users, the debt incurred in the creation of those Federal Reserve notes still exists, and interest is still owed. For the privilege of receiving Federal Reserve notes instead of United States notes in one's corporately colored trade name, one must pay a fine, as the surety of the trade name called income tax, out of the supply of Federal Reserve notes at one's disposal to the owners of the Federal Reserve notes, the Federal Reserve Bank. The more Federal Reserve notes one acquires, in other words, the more liability one accumulates, the more one is fined. Internal Revenue Service, unregistered foreign collection agency, private accountancy firm, and intelligence gathering unit of the Federal Reserve Bank collects the fines. How do Federal Reserve notes come into existence? The sureties of the trade names, owners of the birth certificates, in other words, American men and women, borrow credit via a pledge. How is the pledge actualized? By signing and promising to pay. Before the bankruptcy in 1933, money was backed by substance. After the Wizard, see Wizard of Oz, after the Wizard conned us out of our unalienable right to pay debts with gold, substance, and hence our sovereignty, there had to be something else to back the currency. The bankrupt U.S. government fabricated a juristic mirror image name from our true name, see transmitting utility, inscribed it on our birth certificate, used the birth certificate as a negotiable document of title or security for the newly created trade name, and hypothecated our body, labor, and property, see hypothecate, with the Federal Reserve in exchange for credit, gave us transmitting utility benefits in exchange for use of our property, the trade name, thereby hooking us into a cycle of obligating us, our labor, and our property as surety for the loan, all without our knowledge and without our consent. In other words, the bankrupt federal government has hypothecated everything you own, including your labor, for credit. Belief Federal Reserve notes from the Federal Reserve, all wealth in the nation was nationalized, legally usurped by the U.S. government. See Executive Order outlawing gold in appendix, and Senate document number 43, 73rd Congress, first session. People as sureties for the trade name were converted into chattel property, and juristic name strawman was wholly brought into separate existence on our birth certificate and other subsequent documents such as the Social Security card. The political industry society was then set up to run strictly via trade names. One can now enjoy the benefits of the American Industrial Society, buying and selling only in the trade name of one strawman. Before HJR 192, money represented substance. Now money represents debts because it is issued as credit. How does one obtain money now? By getting a loan of credit, belief from the creditors in bankruptcy. How does one get such a loan? Simply by signing one's signature on a promise to pay. The foundational instrument for all money. The endorsed document is thereby created, and the Federal Reserve Bank creditors issue the credit. Purely an accounting procedure against the pledged assets. In other words, you, your labor, and your property. The lender, Federal Reserve Bank, has no stake and no risk in the process. See promissory note for exact text from the Federal Reserve publication. Since the basis of all money creation is the common signature and a promise to pay, this very process can be employed for one's benefit when faced with a demand for payment performance called a presentment. See presentment, and it's outlined in the presentment handling section in part 2 of this manual. If one carefully reads through the legalese above in House Joint Resolution 192, one can see that no obligee, the one who is owed money, can require payment in a particular kind of coin or currency. The fact that debts can be discharged through the use of Federal Reserve notes does not also authorize an obligee to require payment in Federal Reserve notes, and likewise any other particular specific currency. When an artificial person requires that you pay in Federal Reserve notes, he is in violation of House Joint Resolution 192 and acting against public policy. Human being. See monster. Ballantyne's Law Dictionary, 1930. Hypothecate. Blacks first. 1. To pledge to a creditor as security without delivering over. Mortgage. 2. To put in pledge by delivery as stocks given as security for a loan. To pledge something as security without turning over possession of it. Hypothecation creates a right in the creditor to have the thing pledged so in order that the claim may be satisfied out of the sale of the proceeds. Barron's third. To pledge a thing without delivering the possession of it to the pledgee. The master, when abroad and in the absence of the owner, may hypothecate the ship, freight, and cargo to raise money requisite for the completion of the voyage. Blacks first. See note. Note, your body, labor, and property have been put in pledged, mortgaged, hypothecated to the Federal Reserve creditors, courtesy of the U.S. government, borrowing credit, Federal Reserve notes against your birth certificate. Your body, labor, and property comprise the substance, collateral that guarantees repayment of the loan. The trade name of the straw man is derived from the birth certificate, which has the name inscribed on it and is used as a security instrument in the transaction. Item sonans, sounding the same or alike, having the same sound. The term applied to names which are substantially the same, though slightly varied in the spelling, as Lawrence and Lawrence and the like. Blacks first. See note. Note, your straw man's trade name in all capital letters sounds exactly like your true name, initial letters only capitalized when spoken. When written, however, the two names represent two entirely different entities. One is a legal construct, the name of an artificial person under whose trade name you conduct business. The other is your true name and references and identifies you and expresses your standing as a sovereign. Both names constitute property, however, and may be copyrighted under the common law. See fictitious name, all capital letters, written, proper, artificial name. Identification, proof of identity, Black 6. See identification of goods. Identification of goods, goods to which the contract refers, even though the goods so identified are not conforming. Such identification can be made at any time and in any manner explicitly agreed to by the parties. UCC 2-501, Black 6. See note. Note, goods equal people. Contract equal birth certificate. Non-conforming equal the man or woman described on the original birth document. Contract no longer conforms to the identification factors. Footprints, eye color, hair color, height, weight, etc. described on the original birth document contract. Identification can be made at any time. Equal identification can be made at birth and at any time subsequent thereto, in any manner explicitly agreed to by the parties. Equal any way you can be persuaded to accept the accusation and identity yourself with the name on the birth certificate. With the name on the birth certificate, the mother is the party who usually signs the birth document in the box designated informer or informant. Per Blacks, an informer prefers an accusation, a criminal matter. This is the seminal incident of being accused of having, owning, being associated with an all capital letters name. You own the straw man's name, but it neither references nor identifies you. The name that more closely references and identifies you is your true name. The U.S. government holds the title of the trade name in the form of the original birth document until it is redeemed by you. See goods, informer, information, accusation, i.e., an abbreviation for IDS, that is to say, impairing the obligation of contract. A law which impairs the obligation of a contract is one which renders the contract in itself less valuable or less enforceable, whether by changing its terms and stipulations, its legal qualities and conditions, or by regulating the remedy for its enforcement. To impair an obligation of a contract prohibition of Article 1, subsection 10, U.S. Constitution is to weaken it, lessen its value, or make it worse in any respect, on any degree, and any law which changes the intention and legal effect of the parties given to one a greater and to the other a less interest or benefit, or which imposes conditions not included in the contract, or dispenses with the performance of those included, impairs the obligation of the contract. A statute impairs the obligation of a contract when by its terms it nullifies or materially changes existing contract obligations. Black's Fifth. In bar, see bar. In blank, a term applied to the endorsement of a bill or note when it consists merely of the endorser's name without restriction to any particular endorsee. Black's First. See blank endorsement. And at this particular time, we're going to stop right here and continue at a later date. But once again, people, we'd like you to like, share, subscribe, also leave a comment. But definitely like, share, and subscribe. And we are enjoying our time with you folks. But do make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also leave a comment. Any comment you leave, I definitely will answer the comment or respond to it. Hopefully it's to your liking. Be peaceful, stay blessed, and pray to pass God's test. And I'm going to talk with you guys later.